welcome to Toffee TV. It's 4 weeks to the day.
4 weeks of the day.
That Carlo Ancelotti left for Real Madrid. Everton still haven't confirmed their manager at the time of this live. Looking unlikely for today, but knowing Everton, who knows, could be slipped out while England are playing.
Quarter to 6.
While England are playing. It's getting a bit mad now, and there's obviously, it's been for about 2 weeks now. Rafa Benitez, people, it's the worst kept secret in football. But the club haven't announced it, and I guess it's just a waiting game until he do. It's getting a bit mad though, isn't it? 4 weeks is a... Saying that though, it took them 39 days to appoint Sam Allardyce. So...
That's very true.
But yeah, it seems like it's...
When there was games of footy.
When there was games of footy going. I think what they were doing there was trying to...
Do anything else?
I think they were trying to give David Undred the opportunity to prove it. He was where to go, and the results didn't. So they ended up having to move for Allardyce. But this time, obviously, there's been, I mean, quite that, given England are playing tonight. Given there's been no games.
Does it really matter though? Like you saying that there are no games, and pre-season doesn't start till Monday, is it? Monday, over the weekend, Monday, the testing and everything. Like, he knows he's got the job as it stands. He'll be doing the work. You know, he doesn't need to be in Finch Farm to do that work. He'll have access to whatever he needs. Does it really? I mean, of course, you need the official stamp, but if he knows that he's got the job, I don't think it really would matter as such, because we are in the position we are. You know, we'll be watching a lot of football like the rest of us, watching the Euros and watching the tapes of last season and the players he's got, and dossiers for players that maybe Everton are looking at and all that kind of thing. Yeah. But it is that thing of just get it done, because then it gets rid of, luckily enough today, you know, the bed sheets are safe up and down the land. But because I know I've seen a few people going pre-season in a few days, get it done, and well, it is done. I understand the frustration of people, because people just want it done now. It doesn't matter. They know who it's going to be. They just want it confirmed, so we can all just get on with our lives. And there is that thing of it hanging over people's heads. You know, today, like Palace they've got Vieira in.
Looks like they've got Vieira, yeah.
But Tottenham are still without a manager.
Are you surprised Nuno turned him down?
I don't know. Maybe it might have been the same thing. You're not having that fella coming with you, because we've just appointed the director of football.
It's weird, isn't it?
I don't know if it's weird. I just think
we spoke to all three clubs.
And all three clubs, I think, have probably had all the same problems.
About the same conversations.
We're not letting your mate buy the players, which is absolutely spot on. Not letting your mate dictate the policy of their football club.
Why doesn't he just go and become a director of football?
Why doesn't he just go and run his own club?
That's what I mean.
Own his own club.
He should have stayed at Wolves as director of football and just left Nuno where he was. Because he's having a problem, isn't he?
I mean, listen, we all just want it done at this point. It is one of those things. We all know we're tipping, aren't we? Let's just go full in and get it over and done with.
I think the thing was obviously there's still a lot of people don't want him. That's fully understandable why people don't want him. I think there's obviously a section of people who are just like, whatever.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Kind of falling into
I think there's more whatevers.
Yeah, I think there's
more. Nothing who don't, but more bad the day. Maybe that's what Everton are banking on.
Yeah, and maybe that's what it is. It's try to let it down. But I think once a decision's been made and it's being played out very publicly, and listen, it might have not been Everton who played it out so publicly.
No, other people have played it out publicly.
Other people have let it out, and once that becomes so public, everyone gets impatient. I think people just want to go, it's done, because the attention, and we've said this. I've said this even at the end of the season, with Carlo still being there. The squad is what needs to work now.
Do you know what's weird though, right? The attention isn't on it though. The attention isn't on Rafa Benitez coming the Everton manager.
Yeah.
The attention is on the Euros, right, from the outside world. Okay, on Evertonians, it might be. But the chatter's there. All the chatter's there, isn't it?
Yeah.
You only have to go on Twitter to see that it's come and gone in a way. You know, all we spoke about this last week, saying Everton will leave this a few days and it will all subside in a way. And it has. It has. Most that anger has become a realisation that it's happening. People still aren't happy. But it's not anger as such, it's more the frustration of, oh, my club's done this to me kind of thing. And but it'll pass. And you've got enough time now between, as you said, between now and the beginning of the season. It's going to be interesting because there aren't going to be many pre-season games, if any, that we can go to.
Yeah.
You know, we're playing in America, and obviously, people in America will go, but I can't imagine that will be. I can't imagine they will treat those games as an opportunity to have a go Rafa Benitez. It's the first time they've got to see Everton play since 2014. They're not going to use that as an opportunity for a negative. They're going to go have a great time, which is, very jealous of, and it's going to be a great experience for them. They're not going to treat that as a negative. The other games are probably, going to be a couple
of games of training grounds.
Yeah. So it's going to be, so from that point of view, it'll be difficult. So really, it is the rolling news cycle is all about, especially if England get through today.
Yeah,
it'd be the best thing for Everton. Because all the news will be about England and the next game and the draw opening up and beating Germany. And that would be perfect, absolutely perfect for Everton.
Excuse me.
I mean, if it happens, it's another thing. But, while if the attention stays on England, no more batting eyelid about Benitez coming to Everton. I don't know whether people are batting eyelid in the outside world anyway. I don't know if it'll mean that much to them.
I think when it's come out, there was a lot of talk. But you're right, as the days go by, it just becomes almost that thing of like, oh, for God's sake, just get it done. It's like it's not like a big thing anymore. It will be on the day it's announced. Yeah. I guess his press conference will be. But I think it'll.
But even his press conference, because of the world we live in, Everton can just COVID protocols.
I don't know whether they will. I mean, they can.
They can.
They can keep it at arm's length and go, no, we're just doing it. We're doing it on Zoom, until whatever, and all that. So it's a little bit of a mad one, though, to be fair. Let's be honest, the way it's going. Crimson VRS says, any news of any signings? But there won't be Villa at the moment. Really, Matheus Nunes is, according to stuff coming out of Portugal, they're just waiting for the green, the rubber.
It's quiet everywhere on the signings, though, isn't it? There's a lot of there's a lot of going, there's a lot of rumours and people linking certain players to clubs and, Sancho to United. But in terms of what's really happening, nothing's really happening. There's a couple of moves here or there. But it's very quiet because it always is this time of year because everybody's you've got a Copa America going on, you've got a Euros going on. Everyone's focused on them. Everyone in football will either be at those events or, agents and managers and administrators and all these kind of people, they're dealing with all that kind of thing. And there'll be stuff. There'll be a lot of stuff where there'll be a lot of cases where players are probably at the tournament who are ready to sign for clubs. I mean, we hope there's one who's just gone out the tournament. That is, but these things don't happen until you get the player's gone away, he's had his holiday and he comes back. So.
And for us, it is a case of you haven't got a manager. So some of the stuff.
Do you think that matters though, or do you think there's a? Sorry. No, it's all right. Do you think there's almost a? Trying to think of the right word, but there's almost like a PR situation where you don't want to announce you've bought a player when you haven't got a manager, because people then will look into it and go, well, how
was he the manager?
Yeah, because possibly. What I mean by that is if Matheus Nunes comes in the day after Benitez is announced, right? Yeah. Then Everton can play that off as
fully backed by the manager, scouted by
Marcel Brands, they got together, you know, Benitez gave it the okay and the deal was done. Whereas in reality, it's actually got nothing to do. You know, the same with if there was another player available, you know, whether Dumfries would be linked with or whoever. You know, do you think there's something in that? Because just to alleviate that idea of people talking.
Well, we've seen this before, haven't we, with players when they've gone to different clubs and it's been like, was he really the manager's choice or stuff like, or he was, you know, the manager never picked him or he was here before the manager got there. So, I mean, maybe, I don't know, but maybe, but I mean, a lot of stuff coming out of Portugal is that's what's happening with Nunes. They're waiting for the manager to rubber stamp that signing. The reality might be that Everton have already sorted it, and you're right, it might be the fact that they're waiting. It could be the fact they're waiting until 1st of July when the contract rolls again. You know, and we've seen that before with players, is that a lot of their contract end on that date, they pay up to that date, and then the new, you know, when Everton lose, even though people like Yannick Bolasie and everybody else has left the club, they actually only go off the books tomorrow, don't they? Yeah. Contracts end tomorrow, 30, so by Thursday, they're off officially away from Everton. Yeah. And we've seen that in the past where players have been, it's been held on, so that...
Isn't the 1st of July technically the beginning of the new season?
The beginning of the new, well, yeah, it's the year as well, isn't it? The financial year, I think, as well. So there could be something in that. And maybe that's a thing with the manager. Start them on the 1st of July with the new financial tax year, and therefore it doesn't fall into FFP or whatever. So I don't know, maybe that's what...
Because I know contracts for like things like sponsorship deals and kits, so I think they always start on the 1st of July. It's why, like if a club gets a new kit making and stuff, they can't get anything done till the 1st of July. Maybe that's why.
So there could be, I mean, that could be playing its part in it as well, of course it could. We've seen, you know, we know that the financial implications of certain things dictate the way football clubs do stuff, and certainly the way Everton do stuff. So yeah, maybe that's one of the things, is that they don't want to announce that deal because there's no manager in place, and then it would always be Everton bought him without the manager's consent or whatever, and you don't really want to be having any kind of easy stories for people of unrest or whatever. You want to, especially with an appointment like this one, I think, which they already know there's going to be some trouble.
Especially within the season as well. If you get, if I don't know, any player, but if there's a player that come in beforehand and it's, you know, he gets dropped or whatever, and it's like, oh, well, the manager never, as you said, the manager never wants him. It just alleviates those issues, doesn't it? Just takes that narrative out of it. Yeah. And the less narratives you can have surrounding a football club, the better. You know, and we're gonna have a big enough one with Benitez.
Without a shadow, yeah. Liam Floyd said I'd be very surprised if Benitez isn't coming. All this talk sounds like smoke screen. He would have been appointed by now, unless they're waiting for the right man at the right time for the Euros. I don't think it's not a smoke screen. It just is when it is, isn't it? I mean, there's a lot of. I think probably what's happened is there's a lot of someone's leaked information when they really shouldn't have done regarding this. And we've seen stories come out over the weekend of people not being happy. So somehow this story's got out probably earlier than what Everton would have liked, and maybe all of the details weren't quite finalised. It's one we've seen the thing with Nuno, with us and with Crystal Palace and with Tottenham the other day. You've seen stuff now with Patrick Vieira, and the way David Ornstein thought his wording was very thingy today. It was like he's agreed in principle, but nothing has signed, and that can be the case, can't it? I mean, Lucien Favre, that was all done, agreed in principle and everything. They were just celebrating, but because his name wasn't on that contract signed, he was able to back out of it at the last minute. So maybe Everton are waiting until everything is signed and sealed before they.
Yeah, you can. Everton would never ever jump into. They would never disclose anything.
No,
early. But I think things get out. People talk. You know, if you know, but ultimately though, it's probably for the best that people have had 3 or 4, 5 days to stew on this. If it just come out and then he was made manager the next day,
do you think it would have been even worse?
I think it would have been because you've got that like contempt then for the club. Almost like you never give us the opportunity to voice our opinion on this. Yeah. And listen, as it stands, this Rafa Benitez is going to be our next manager. You know, it's gone too far down the road now. It's you know, unless one of the parties backs out for a reason to do with, you know, the fume more than anything else. So, but it certainly
looks very unlikely.
I don't think it's certainly not a smokescreen for anybody else.
No. Danny Monarch.
Would you really want it to be?
Some people would, of course they would. I don't know. I mean, I've said before, he wouldn't be my choice as a manager. He wouldn't. But it is what it is. They've the club, and I've also said, if those people have sat with other managers, and he is the one that, for whatever reason, has impressed them the most, then he should be the one they pick, regardless of how we feel, really. Yeah. Because they're trusting him with their business, and we're, rightly or wrongly, we have to put up with that, but we have to put up with a lot of their decisions, don't we? So, and we do, because we're Evertonians. The available managers who are real quality are getting less and less. Obviously, Christophe Galtier as you know, it's been confirmed he's the niche manager now. Favre didn't want Crystal Palace and looks like he's going to have a break now. So I don't know what that was about. Maybe he just had a look and gone, actually, I don't need this hassle. You know, you're looking at Eddie Howe, who people were very much against. Would you really want him at the moment? You know, it feels now like you were just scrambling back to him. Roberto Martinez is another one, but you know, who knows? You know, Duncan Ferguson, who people were really split on, I know has got more backing now as the time's gone on because of what the other thing is. But it's all what I would be concerned about now is, again, we quoted this last week, but the 1997 thing of, once you move away from the people you thought were kind of the right person, and you end up, you're scrambling around, going to someone who you don't really want in, you're not convinced on. Are you going to give them the things they need to succeed when you're not convinced on them? Whereas if the owner is convinced with Rafael Benitez, for whatever reason he's convinced with them, you'd think that they're then going to...
I'll be brutally honest, right? And I'm not asked what anyone thinks about this. I'd be very disappointed if it wasn't Rafa Benitez now. Because, for all those reasons, this is the man they want, right? Yeah. And if we don't get him now, if he backs out and we are left with it holding something in the wind, we're in a mess. Honestly, we're in a mess. And I know people will be going, oh, but that'll be for the best. Because then we might look at this person. Who are we going to look at? Who are we going to look at? The only other person I'd want out of all the list, and again, not asked, is Duncan. Right? But people don't want Duncan. Well, that's fair enough. Got no experience. Yeah. Fair enough. I've got no problem with that. I've got no problem. Yeah. Big risk. Really big risk, even though he is qualified for it. Just doesn't have the experience. But if it was to fall through right now, with 4 days till pre-season starts, I'd be worried about this.
It's like when people said,
because we ain't getting our first choice then. We're not getting. We're getting somebody else, somebody just who isn't really qualified in their eyes.
In their eyes, yeah. That's the nature. I think that the thing I'd be more concerned about, which is what you have just said there, is certainly if it was like, say, a Martinez again, Belgium could go to the final, which means he could not be available for another 3 weeks, 2 weeks, whatever, which is a week already into pre-season, and then he's coming in late, and we've already been undercooked under Martinez in the past.
Roberto Martinez.
So, so no, but that's what I'm saying, and it's like, I think what you always want, and we mightn't like it as fans, but the people who are making the decision, you always want them to get the people they really want, if that makes sense. It's, we might, I might want something totally different to what
Well, put it this way.
Alistair Usmanov and Farhad Moshiri and Denise Barapati.
Put it this way. The name that a lot of people wanted has just got a job.
It's gone.
Galtier's just got a job.
Yeah.
So that name's off the table, right? Now, you can have a go, if you want, at Everton for not approaching him or not going hard on him or whatever. But he's gone now. So it's off the table.
Off the table, yeah.
Off the table. And if you look at the other names, no, sorry.
And it'll be, I think as well, mate, I think now, it'd be so difficult to get anyone out of a club now. Because they've made... I come around to Graham Potter, who is a risk. I'm not saying he isn't a risk. Of course he's a risk. But come around to him, if we weren't going to choose a Duncan Ferguson as a younger coach because of those reasons, expand, I get everybody who says, no, the experience, fine. If we weren't going to pick Christophe Gaultier, who's got the experience and won stuff, I was saying, well, what about Potter then? Because at least he plays good footy and he's got experience. You wouldn't get him out of a club now, 4 days before pre-season or 3 days, whatever.
He's got far too much about him.
So, and other managers, you people go, what about him? Conte, we ain't getting him. He's not gone anywhere because his demands are big and we probably can't match his demands. So you're right, you're looking around now with that list going, well, who else will... Anyone who's not at a club, why haven't Everton gone for them in the first place if they're that impressive? You know, and you'd end up with people's suggestions like Mark Hughes. And it's like, wow. You know, wow. So I just want them, if they're picking, and Brands and everybody else to get, because we can't pick it, you want them to get the people they think are their first choice, because they're their first choice for a reason, aren't they? You hope as a fan base you like who their first choice is. In this occasion, a lot of people don't like who their first choice is, but their first choice might be able to deliver stuff they want. And sadly, rightly, wrongly, whatever. And I think if you put a thing out for who people want it to be 10 different names, and there lies the issue. Because at this moment in time, there isn't too many outstanding candidates, is there? No. And that's the issue. Danny Monarch says, Benitez, so be it. I just want some transfer news now. We need a couple of wingers for Benitez, 4-2-3-1, and a right back minimum. Dean Evans, any idea when the announcement be made? Imminent is what we've been told. So possibly tomorrow, Dean, to be honest. But
it's an off day tomorrow, isn't there? There's no footy tomorrow.
No footy, so it's Michael Woods says, if appointed, what does Benitez need to do to be successful? Bobby C says, qualify for Europe, win a trophy, don't fall out with the club hierarchy, and don't compare Everton to the other lot.
Just go about your business. You just want him to go about his own business and do the job in the right way.
I want him to work his bollocks off.
Get them organised and you know, try and build something, basically, innit?
Yeah, definitely. Liam Floyd doesn't see Benitez staying beyond Christmas. Why? Yeah, each to their own. I actually think he'll do fine at Everton, and that's me not wanting him. But I can look at him and go, yeah, he'll do all right because he's organised. Carlo Ancelotti, that's all Carlo was, wasn't he? But yeah, Stephen Richards and get tested. Baz being tested this morning, mate. I've had two flus.
Well, you had the jab. That's why you're sniffling.
I'm sniffling because I've had the jab, but I did do a COVID test this morning, which was negative as well, mate. So, yeah. But I've had my second jab last Wednesday, and that's why. And I also had a little bit of a cold as well. So there you go.
You are still allowed to have colds, you know.
No, there's this thing that was around for ever, called colds.
It's like when you cough and people look at you, and you're like, you know, maybe I might have like swallowed my drink wrong, or
yeah. It's mad, isn't it? Absolutely mad. Andrew Cunningham says, I will always put the success of Everton above my personal feelings about managers or players. Those who don't do this are putting themselves before the club. Tazul says, Rafa must have balls the size of pineapples to still want the Everton job. Really must back himself to do a good job. I think you know what? I think that's right, isn't it? I think if he feels like he can do this job and do it well, do you think that's why he will go against the if there's a feeling of people not wanting them.
Yeah, I again, I go back to what Ian Ballingay said last week in that tweet, which was really interesting. It is that idea of, listen, we sat here yesterday and we spoke to somebody who was very confident they could do the job, right? And it's that thing of like, can you just give me the opportunity? I know what I want to do. And it must be horrible being in that position, knowing you can, having the ability and having the mindset that you know you can do something.
Yeah.
But no one will give you the opportunity. And I think for him, whether we like it or not, this is the perfect job for him. Where he is right now in his life. This is the job that he wants. It's the perfect, it's a Premier League club. It's in a brilliant location for him with people that he feels like he understands. Okay, he might not be on the right side of them at the moment, but he feels like he knows them enough that he can get on the right side of them and put all that other stuff to bed. That'll be difficult, but if he feels like that way. But also, he might be looking from the outside in going, I know exactly what that club needs. And imagine like you know that, like you sit there going, I know what that club needs. I know what I can give it to, and I'm not going to run away from it, and I'm not going to take the next job over there, and I haven't got my eyes on this or that, and I'm here to stay. Like, I'm here to stay, you know, regardless. Not because this is what we said this, and I said this when, you know, Carlo left. It was like that idea of like the club were up against a ticking time bomb anyway, of like, you've got like 4 years, so you've got to give him everything he wants in 4 years, otherwise he's gone, because he's going anyway. It was that idea that every year had to be like quick turnover to give him what he wanted in that short time. Whereas, I'm not saying there isn't a rush, because obviously it's a rush, it's football, but it might be a case of like we're a little bit more relaxed about this, because he's not going anywhere. And I think if you've got that, I genuinely feel, just reading between the lines, and as I said, what Ballingay said, it was like he knows, or he thinks he knows exactly what it's going to take to make Everton
go in the direction.
Team getting back into Europe, and then hopefully going to try and challenge. Of course, the proof's in the pudding. But if you know that and you can convince members of the board, which is always the toughest thing, you've got to get in a room with them first of all. And I think for someone like him, it's the hardest thing is getting in the room. But then you can put your CV down, you can put your medals down, and go, well, this is what I've won. But if you can't get in that room, and that must be very frustrating for people to just go, oh no. And you've got and he has, and here we are, and let's see what happens. You know what I mean? But I as I said before, for me, I think the way it's played out, if it doesn't happen now, then I think I personally think that'd be the worst thing, because I just think we'd be left in an absolute mess.
Jake says, when do you guys expect the announcement? You know, I mean, I'm thinking maybe tomorrow, Jake, but it could be today, could be Friday, who knows. Do you expect big protests against it, or do you think fans will get behind them? I think a few people won't be happy and might, you know, the bed sheets might come out again or whatever, but I think the longer it goes on, we've got to focus on what's really important.
What are people protesting about? This is what I don't get. What are they protesting?
They don't want him as the manager.
But I know, I understand that, but...
So that's what they're protesting against.
So if someone else was going to get the job, would they do the same thing? I honestly don't know what some people think they're protesting against, though. Is it because he said we're a small club? Is it because he was Liverpool manager?
I don't know.
Is it because
people don't like him? So you can't.
But why don't they like him?
But you can't tell people.
No, I know. I'm not saying I can.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is I don't quite.
You don't understand.
I don't understand what
people think, and he did at the time. He disrespected us. So that's fine.
Okay. Do these people want Roberto Martinez? The fellow who took when took us to court and took 11 million quid off us.
No,
But I don't get it. This is the point. I don't get where the anger. I don't understand.
Yeah, but that's just because you don't see it.
But
like
I don't
understand.
I don't understand how people can hold on to that anger when the club have done nothing for 26 years. I really don't. I don't understand when the pool of managers is so poor that people can gather so much anger. Would they rather have a worse manager and it just not be him?
Some have said yes.
Well, then they're stupid then.
Well, you can't. But that's
No, I can't. Me personally, as a person, my opinion is they're stupid.
Okay.
They're stupid.
Okay.
They're stupid because, right? I just don't get how people can hold on to that anger. I just really don't get it.
I don't know.
If people go, oh, do you know what? I don't want this fella as a manager. He's negative. He does this. He does that. He's finished. Well, I get that. I get that.
Yeah.
But the fact is, put it this way, you're a dick if you put a thing up by his house, aren't you? If that's what the lengths are, you're a...
Yeah, but a low Evertonians have totally...
No, I know, that's what I'm saying.
I haven't seen anyone
That's
saying
what I'm saying. I don't think there'll be any protest, because if there hasn't been protest up to now, where people have gone, right, get down to Goodison for 6 o'clock on Tuesday night, and we're going to show the club. I've seen none of that. I've seen none of that. I think it's like, I really do think it's almost like smoke and mirrors, where people fume on Twitter, but it's only like them going, oh. Whereas when day one comes of the new season, people will be in the ground. Whether they like him or not, they will be in the ground.
Yeah, but then they may boo or whatever, mightn't they, when he's announced? That's up to them, isn't it? I don't know. You can't tell people how to feel.
I'm not telling people how to feel.
So
and what I'm telling them is my opinion of them.
If people are fuming because they still feel angry about that comment, then that's fine. That's up to them, isn't it? The people don't... my thing for why he wouldn't have been in my list is not because he called us a small club. I was fuming at the time, but it was 15 years ago. I've moved on with my life. But my thing about not wanting them is because what I seen at Newcastle, I didn't like. It was boring type football. And I wanted us to...
That's it.
And the other thing as well, which isn't really about him, is I wanted us to move away from... I wanted to get like a younger coach and go, right, this is what we're going to do with our philosophy. So they're my reasons for not wanting them. I've said before, it's not the Liverpool thing. Because I'd have Klopp and I'd have...
Do you think the club's ready for that, though? Do you think the club is ready
probably
for
not.
A young manager to come in and try and turn it round?
I think if you're them at this moment in time and you're seeing Marco Silva and all of a sudden we were in the bottom three and Dunk got us out of it, and then Carlo coming and steadied it. The time before that it was Koeman and he got us, we were struggling and Allardyce had to come in and get us out of it. Where I think they're looking and going, well, maybe you could take a gamble, but that gamble could go wrong and we could be doing that again. Where I think they see Benitez, rightly or wrongly, as a safe pair of hands. And whether that's right or wrong, whether that's what Everton Football Club should be doing at this juncture, I don't know, right? But what I do know is, when you're moving stadium, there's a lot of turmoil in that, and a lot of things need to be juggled, and finances and everything else. If these two fellas genuinely want us to be fighting for the Champions League and in this new stadium and all that, they'll want someone in place who they believe can deliver that for them with almost guarantees, right? Now, it's like, it's the young hotshot and it's risk and reward. Yeah. He might be brilliant and get you in that Champions League, but then again, it could go like Martinez and go the other way, and all of a sudden you're back to where you've got slow and steady through the middle who will keep you close. So I think for them, they're probably looking and going, got a stadium coming in 3 years. Seen the diggers on there this week and stuff like that. We need to be able to have someone in place who we think we can hang our hat on.
Because we fall into the trap of what happens in the Premier League of it's about being in the Premier League and nothing else.
The rewards are too big.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's you can't fall out of the Premier League. You can't even be in the pool of falling out of the Premier League, because, as we said, it's about being in the Premier League.
They got Carlo Ancelotti, right? Mashiri come in, and his first job was he chased Martinez because he could see that we were going nowhere. The fans weren't happy. Don't forget there was protests and everything. People have rewritten history with Martinez. There was protests. There was a plane getting flown over. There was banners, blah, blah, blah. We had to remove him because it was that bad. We removed him, wouldn't give him the last game against a relegated team. Right? We give it to David Unsworth and Joe Royle. So that was Mashiri's first act. He went for Koeman because he was a big name. He'd had a couple of good seasons. And he thought, oh yeah, he'll get, Everton have been close to it. Still had Lukaku, he'll get us in Europe. And he did. First season, he got us in Europe. He delivered.
Yeah.
The second season, for whatever reason, it went pear-shaped. And he ended up getting Allardyce in. But he had the balls, or they had the balls to remove Allardyce, even though Allardyce done what he was probably asked to do. And he went back to Marco Silva, this new era, young coach coming in with brands. He's in. For some reason, Mashiri really liked the look of Silva. Hoped he'd be able to bring us, and it didn't work again. And I think Carlo Ancelotti represented not only someone who was experienced and stable, but he was also a huge name. Don't forget it. He had tried to get Ancelotti before. Ancelotti, big name, won everything, so it ticked every box. So we all went, oh yes, please. And I think probably what they've done this time is just go for Ancelotti light.
Yeah.
In Benitez, like you said, the path to at least disruption, because it's a manager who's got all the experience, won trophies. All right, he mightn't be winning trophies last year, or he might, and I understand people who go, hang on, he got off to China retirement. I understand all that, and I wouldn't rewrite that history. That's what he done. I don't know why he did it, but that's what he did. And I think from their perspective, they've looked at that and gone, it's almost the same as having Ancelotti there in a way. And Benitez has probably got in the door through having those credentials. And then when he's got in the door, who knows what he said in those meetings. He might have gone, like you said before, I can see what's wrong with this club. You're really good at this, but they haven't done that. I can do this. You back me and we'll do that. And they might have gone, sound that. Whereas maybe Nuno come in the door and was like, yeah, this fella's 47. We could have him for 10 years. It'd be great. But there's this stipulation and this stipulation. And then why were Wolves happy for him to walk out the door 3 months after signing a new 3-year deal for nothing?
Yeah. The big problem with the Premier League is that the rewards for staying in the Premier League are actually bigger than being successful in the Premier League, if that makes sense. The financial gap of falling out,
unless you win it,
is bigger than winning it. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, falling out.
Do you know what I mean? There's like, you might get an extra, I don't know, let's say you get an extra like 30 million quid for winning it, but if you drop out of it,
you're 140.
You know what I mean? Exactly. So,
and I suppose I'm trying to do is look at it from their perspective. It doesn't necessarily the perspective I want to look at as a fan, because I want to go to the match and be on the edge of my seat. Is Rafa Benitez football gonna have me on the edge of my seat? Don't know. Did Carlo Ancelotti's? No, it didn't. But the crowd sometimes has the players playing above the level which gets you on the edge of your seat. That's what I'm banking on. I don't know. It's the reality, and it's a testing process. But it's the same that where people are very finite with their view of it. We he'll have us in the bottom 3 by Christmas. We'll get relegated. He'll have left by November. It's like we don't know that, do we? There's no thing that said. What if Everton's opening half a dozen games aren't bad, by the way? But if he wins 4 of the first 6.
Listen, you could say the same for any manager.
But then he could go the other way.
What if it was Graham Potter, and Graham Potter had a terrible start, and he was like, yeah, but I'm a long-term manager, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that.
Galtier could have been the same. Never managed in this country.
The issues are the same with every single manager.
The players.
It's the players, and also because the short-term nature of the way of the people who run the club, they almost want instant suck. I mean, it sounds ridiculous saying it, of what we've put up with and what's been served up, but they want results, don't they? And that result might be, all right, we're in the top. I imagine they were fuming with Carlo Ancelotti.
Mashiri and his partner and other people, because Everton,
missed opportunity.
when we beat West Bromwich Albion in March, we went fourth. It looked almost impossible for us to miss out on Europe. If we'd have just done what people might, and not even like amazing stuff. If we'd have just done what we probably could have done, two or three more wins, we'd have been in Europe, which would have been a good season. And
when you've got Sheffield United and Fulham at home,
you know, Crystal Palace, who was safe, they weren't going up or down, and we didn't beat them. So they might have been unhappy with Ancelotti there near the end. They probably didn't expect them to walk out, and that's where we are. So I don't think anybody can sit there confidently and go, this will happen and that will happen. You know, like I think, and I've said it before, Benitez could get Everton into Europe. But I can't sit here and go, I guarantee you he will get it, because I can't guarantee it. No. But then West Ham fans last summer wouldn't have said Moyes should get them into the top 6 this season, would they? Even the most optimistic West Ham fan would have gone, we'll be all right, because we've sat here and gone, well, West Ham be fine at Moyes because he'll organise them and he'll do well. But no one foreseen them having a chance at Champions League with 3. Well, we beat them. If they'd have beat us, they'd have gone in the Champions League. Yeah, we went there and beat them. So I think it's really difficult, isn't it? Where are we? Stuart says, am I too ambitious in wanting Roberto Mancini?
No, I don't know. I mean, I think this, you know, he's got a decent team and that there's an ambition there. You know, he won the league, didn't he, with Man City, had all the riches, but ultimately they didn't think he was the right man. I don't know. He seems quite content. I think for international managers, what's interesting is because there's another tournament in 18 months' time, they're all probably quite content because they know that there's something next year. Yeah. It wouldn't surprise me if...
Well, it's literally only next year.
It's 18 months away, isn't it? So it wouldn't surprise me. Wouldn't surprise me if quite a few managers are available after that World Cup, because that's their cycle done. Do you know what I mean? They'll be thinking, well, it's another 2 years, and 2 years is a long time, want to get back in the game. But for a lot of them now, they'll be like, well, straight back into this, into the qualifying, back into the World Cup next year. For some of them, it might be too long. I don't know. He's a good manager. I don't know. Again, would you have said that before the tournament? Would you have...
I had to be fair. I have seen Mancini's name.
No, that's what I'm saying for the majority.
But some people, I mean, Andy, the Piv's in the comments. Andy McVegger's in the comments there, and I've spoke to him about Mancini, and he's not overly enamoured with Mancini either. Just the way of how you work within clubs. Liam Floyd says, I can't accept Benitez, don't care if people disagree. That's fine. No one's telling you. No one's telling you that what to do, Liam. You've got your own opinion. Liam Monroe says, I consider Everton to be a club that has listened to its fans for some time, which leads me to thinking, are we part of the problem? And should they be more professional and ignore us on the big decisions?
Again, we dealt with this yesterday on our Patreon show. It's who are they listening to? What branch of Everton are they listening to? Are they listening to Twitter, Facebook, the fans forum? You know, official supporters clubs. You know, who are they listening to? How do you gauge what Everton fans want? You know, if you know what I mean, it's like how do you gauge that?
It is difficult, isn't it?
Think about it. It's like if you think about it though, when you think about like the ground, don't forget they listen to us on the ground. Fans consistently said we wanted a waterfront ground. There was an easier option. There's an option that would have been, the ground would have been built by now if they took the easy option on the ground.
I mean, this is the one thing with Mashiri, when people, I've seen this a lot over the last few days, get out of our club. And it's like, if he gets out of our club now, Everton doesn't exist because we'd be in debt and we can't pay it. So we'd have no football club. We certainly wouldn't have a ground coming in 3 years. But you're absolutely right. We could have took the Stone Cross area of the city. The ground would be built now. Meccano Stadium would have been built now.
Well, it could have been. It might even been a nice stadium.
Yeah, but it would have been.
But it would be in Croxteth.
In Croxteth, out the way, and we'd have been in it all about probably starting the season in it now. And if people wanted that, fine. I can't tell you what to want, but I know what's far more iconic and what's going to be a better stadium, in my opinion, is at Bramley Moor Dock. So you're right, they haven't. And I tell you what, the other thing as well, it'd been a hell of a lot cheaper to go to Stone.
Yeah.
Cross. A hell of a lot cheaper. Peter Duggan says, Machiri wouldn't have cleared up more than half of our debt, improved our turnover if he didn't know what he was doing. He just needs to fix the foundation of the club and settle on a manager. Yeah. Neil Proctor says, there is a loyal option and it's Big Dunk.
But even that, if you listen to some fans, if you're listening to fans, then there's a lot of fans who don't want Duncan Ferguson to be the manager.
Dennis Quillade says, all the billionaire owners do this not for the club but as personal projects. They want to have a Champions League club like their billionaire mates. Well, that's right, because the days now of someone in the city who's an Evertonian who's got enough money to put into the club and because he wants the club to be amazing because he's a blue don't exist.
No, it's a billionaires
club.
It's
a billionaires game. There's no billionaires living in Liverpool who are Evertonians who want to go, I'm going to... especially when you're up against countries like Man City, you know, and PSG and people like that. There's no chance of doing it. Liverpool are owned by American hedge fund who don't... Do you think they honestly care about Liverpool? They want them to do well because it's part of their portfolio. They're not bothered. Look at the Super League thing.
Look at all of the top. Look at all the teams.
All of the teams. Arsenal are owned by an American billionaire. You know, Chelsea are owned by a Russian billionaire. Spurs are owned by a fella who lives in...
British billionaire, but he
lives in St. Lucia or somewhere like that. They're all
tax-free.
All of the clubs up there. So for Everton, we were plodding along under self-confessed Evertonian Bill Kenwright with no money, and people were praying for a billionaire. Well, billionaires come in, and this is what happens. They want things their own way.
You'd only sell to a billionaire.
Of course,
you couldn't leave the club anyway. You can't leave the club. No. You know, you'd have to sell. He could, you know, and also, I mean, it's yeah, as I said, it's
the game's changed.
Yeah,
the game's moved on.
It's sickening in a way because
it's horrible.
Because it leaves you in a position where there's only a finite amount of billionaires out there, and the game's horrible because certainly in this country because those types of people are not necessarily they're not.
But you have to
have one.
You have to be part of it to be able to have any success at all.
And the other side of it is, Baz, is that you have to be profitable as a football club, which means having a stadium. Means having a stadium that makes money every day of the week. Yeah. And I've said a million times, we've said a million times, we don't expect this stadium to catapult us into another dimension of football, financial, you know. But it's the case of we're not even in the game at the moment. We are reliant on these people putting their hands in the pockets, but they can't put their hands in the pockets really anymore. Everton have to start making money, and they're only going to start making money once we get a stadium because it just. And there's also, don't forget, we're all sitting here now demanding new players after a season of none of us in the ground. All of our money
gone,
has come back to us. Yeah. And you're demanding Everton Football Club, who've made a £107 million loss or whatever it was last time. This time it'll be nuts.
160
you know,
million.
And you're demanding they go and sign players.
I'm demanding he spend another 100 million.
Without taking into the consequences of how that happens. And that's those two things don't weigh up.
No.
They don't match each other. You know, it's the same thing of like saying we demand cheap tickets and all that kind of thing, and then demanding we go and spend money. These things just don't match up, and you've got to get yourself in a position where they do match up, and you've got to take that into consideration.
And people are fume if we come out and say we're selling the Charlison.
Yeah.
For FFP.
Or Dominic
Calvert-Lewin for FFP. Yeah. It'd be like, what a club, this, that and the other.
Something has to like give, doesn't it? And again, they have to put this all into consideration when the
But then as fans, we don't want to look at it like that, do we?
No,
Because
we
want
don't.
to dream.
We don't.
Because we see other clubs having stuff, and we see clubs like Leicester being able to win an FA Cup and get into Europe, and we've seen them. I know they're a different proposition now, but when Klopp took over, he was still bigger, of course they were, but he was able to get them in by doing it a different way. We want some of that. We want to be able to get in.
You've got to lay
Europe,
the groundwork,
but without
you?
foundations.
You've got to lay the groundwork at a football club. You've got to put it in the right position. You can't have them. Every year we're talking about, oh, can't wait till he goes, can't wait till he goes, can't wait till he goes, God, can't wait to get his contract off the books. And we're doing that now, and it's like, cut, and then you look at the squad and you're like, Jesus Christ, we need players. Where do those players come from? Something has to give.
Right, I'll race through a few of these before we go. Dan Wyatt says, I've come full circle now to acceptance. I'm already looking forward to the season. It's just another day on the emotional roller coaster of being an Everton fan. Django Bet says, fans started acting like spoiled kids once Mashiri turned up. Liam wouldn't care if Richarlison left. Fine. Everyone's got their own thing, haven't he? Stoll says, what do you think of Patrick Vieira sign for Palace?
Interesting opportunity for him with the clubs he's already managed. Again, I think Crystal Palace have got good foundations in place, although the contract situation isn't great with the players. They've got a lot of players out of contract.
12 out, haven't they?
Didn't they sort of Benteke out, didn't he?
Did
he signed a new contract.
I've just seen the thing saying he's got 10 players.
There was 13 originally out of contract.
Mad.
So, they'll bring him in, and it'll be an interesting appointment. But he's lived in London for a long time and knows the Premier League and all that kind of thing. Yeah. He's done an apprenticeship at New York City and Nice, so will be an interesting one.
Definitely. Stephen McConway says, I completely agree with Ped. He's absolutely spot on. Alex Scott says, there's a finite amount of billionaires and a finite amount of Champions League places. If 10 clubs are owned by billionaires, that's 6 that are disappointed every season. Billionaire owner doesn't necessarily equal Champions League.
It doesn't. It just equal. All it equals nowadays, generally, is being in the Premier League.
Yeah.
That's all it equals.
I think what you can do is, if you have a billionaire, you can plan to be a disruptor brand kind of thing and get in there. And you can do that, because if there's 10 of you, you should all be following the same thing, which means some seasons you will do better than ones above. What it might stop, and it kind of has, is stop the run of just being the same people year after year after year.
It's difficult though, isn't it? Because at the end of the day, right, if half of the Premier League are owned by billionaires, the teams who are traditionally successful will still be the same teams who are traditionally successful. Because there's no actual room for manoeuvre. But it's the key to get you in there. It's sad. It's whereas like years ago you go, imagine being taken over by a billionaire, you'd be dead excited. Oh, we're going to do this, we're going to do it. Now it's just part of the course. You have to be a billionaire to be in the boys' club, or have a really, somehow Palace, I mean, he's not a billionaire, but they're just a well-run club.
They've got a couple of millionaires, though, haven't they? Multi-millionaires.
But we're closer to being a millionaire than a millionaire's closer to being a billionaire.
Yeah.
That's how much money that is.
No, it is. It's ridiculous. Dennis Quaalude on the Super Chat says, appreciate all the work and content over the last year, lads. Thanks. Cheers, Dennis. Thanks for the Super Chat. Rather than Super Chatting, come over and be a patron.
Wow. Dominic Calvert-Lewin has been left out of the England squad for tonight's game.
Maybe he's injured.
It's a bit pathetic, isn't it? Your main striker isn't scoring any goals, so you leave your second striker out.
Interesting. Very interesting.
According to The Athletic. Will not be included in the starting lineup or the list of 12 substitutes.
Interesting. Patrick McLaughlin says, we've actually gone backwards on the pitch since Mashiri came in. Rafa's appointment outlines our lack of ambition, and Mosh wants a safer pair of hands to protect his asset to sell after Bramley-Moore Dock. He needs to go. We can't go if no one wants to buy the club, can he? Well, you're not bothered about Bramley-Moore? Do you not want a new stadium?
I'd love to know where all these people were 10 years ago.
But you want to buy us?
No, the people we want to share out. Where were these people 10 years ago?
Oh, when we had no money at all, we couldn't buy anybody. Yeah.
Fella was running us into the ground.
Yeah. Calvert-Lewin wasting his time at England, says Liam. Jake Berg says Rafa will be sound if he's given time. Basic Trigonometry says people saying that they'd rather finish down the bottom than have Rafa is absolute nonsense. Matthew Berkeley says he's being left out because Gareth Southgate is diabolical at football management. Yeah. Mark D says Everton has stadium approved, the liabilities now become an asset. That'll improve FFP position, allows us to spend more money. We need to get rid of Moyes at the same time and buy some players. Yeah, if Keane's going to go, we need it to be a sale rather than trying to get him on loan, because that's nonsense. Jonesy says some Everton fans are just pathetic. Finn218 says send Big Dunk to find a job and give Rafa a 1-year deal till we find the right man or Dunk proves himself. I am Milky Coffee says gutter for Dom. England is not great. I've paraphrased there. And Andrew says Dom doesn't have a big enough media profile. That's how England teams are picked. Yeah, berserk that he's not on the bench. But
bizarre, that.
It's a very strange one. But what can you do? Mikey FC says, think Rafa will be fine, just a bit boring. Still a lot of deadwood to get out as well of the club. Definitely. Yeah. Shoot says, will Usmanov buy the club when the stadium is built?
No.
Who knows?
No.
Who knows? I mean, you just never know, though, do you? Or he could sell it on to someone else, or they might just keep it themselves and want to do stuff with it because we'll actually be more self-sufficient. Steve P says if we sign fast players, the football won't be as bad as last season. I don't mind counter-attacking football as long as it's fast. At least Rafa will have the players drilled. Yeah. There you go. Right, that's us done. We'll be back tomorrow, hopefully. There'll be an announcement tomorrow. We'll have something confirmed and we can discuss it further and get people's reactions. But nice one, make sure you give the video a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't. We are going over to the footy show in about half an hour as well, and we're doing England watch along.
Yeah.
At 5 o'clock if you fancy it as well on Toffee TV Live. So come back and do that with us. Other than that, see you later.